Humans start cooking meat more than 2 million years ago. It's certainly a lot easier now, unless you're barbecuing. That's an art form. One family is proficient thanks to an ancestor with an interesting backstory. The Watts family is serious about their barbecue, and their guidance comes from Arthur, the first family master of the pit.
Anybody that hears a story is absolutely captivated by it.
Arthur Watts is born a slave in Missouri, 1837. And at age 6, his job is to tend the cooking fires on the estate, where his mother is a slave. And his father owns the estate.
He was actually the son of the man who owned him, which didn't play well with the mistress of that household. When his master slash father would leave for business, things got really rough for him. And he learned early on to take to the woods, literally live in the woods until his father returned. Arthur's recipes are handed down to his son, Udell, through the generations, to Arthur's great-great-grandson, Udell IV. Along with recipes, he likes to think he's inherited his ancestors' grit and determination. I described Arthur as a very strong-willed man.
After the Civil War, Arthur is a free man. At age 28, he leaves Kansas City and heads north.
He literally walked from Kansas City, which is where he was a slave, up into central Iowa. On that trek, he walked through a grove of hickory trees that he noted they would impart the flavor that he was looking for.
He moves to Illinois, where he hears about job opportunities in Kewanee, 150 miles southwest of Chicago.
He knew that he had something that set him apart from anybody else there, which was his barbecuing. Surrounding communities would send for him to come and oversee, massive open pit barbecues.
Arthur dies in 1945 at the age of 108. When Udell's dad, Udell III, retires, he starts barbecuing for friends and family.
Jokingly, I referred to it as, you're turning into a regular old Arthur's. And he and I kind of looked at each other and realized, you know what? There might be an opportunity here to share Arthur's sauce, his dry rubs, and tell his story, bringing his story back to life. When you season a slab of ribs, not only you getting the flat surfaces, but treat your edges as flat surfaces. Actually adds a lot of extra flavor pop.
They start to package and market Old Arthur's dry rubs. What starts as a hobby becomes a business that's growing.
Arthur's saying was, you don't need no mustard at a barbecue. So Arthur says it,
yay.
I follow it.
All right. Barbecue is cooked slowly, and you might say this recipe has been simmering for 160 years, along with Arthur's stories.
When Arthur would gather his great-grandchildren around, there'd always be a mad scramble to be the one that sat on his lap. Well, second place actually got to sit on his footstool.
They still have the footstool and some of his old tools.
Arthur, his sons, and other volunteers are spaced in 6-foot intervals, turning pork shoulders with pitchforks. This is actually the pitchfork that Arthur used towards the end of his life. Temperature is right where I wanted, somewhere between 235 and 250 degrees, so we're good to go. We'll check on that in about 2.5 hours, see where it is.
Beyond the spices and sauces, perhaps there is something more important handed down to descendants: Arthur's stories.
You just want to add a couple of layers of sauce and it'll candy up on there. Even for us, it's hard to appreciate the condition that slaves were held in. Arthur was kicked in the head by a horse as a 5-year-old, opened his head up, and literally it cracked his skull. It's a whole nother story. They called the vet. They didn't call a doctor. They called the vet. That's who tended to him.
A way of life captured for future generations, so the story is not forgotten. The recipes have now been handed down through 5 generations. And yes, there is a Udell V. Why all the Udells? Arthur's first taste of freedom after leaving Kansas City is a tiny town in Iowa called Udell.
We looked at him as our patriarch. He's our family inspiration. No matter where you go, if you find somebody in our family with the Watts last name, we hitch our wagon to Arthur's star.
Up next on Backstory,
full of makeup.
a rare glimpse of Bozo behind the makeup.
Too thick.